Assalamu alaikum. My name is Salim Siddiqui and thanks for watching the Hot Conflict series on the great celebration of the Muslims called Eid al-Akbar, or the Great Celebration. Now Muslims are people who by definition say that they submit to the will of the Lord Most High, and Islam is the translation of the religion or belief or faith or creed of those who've submitted to the will of the Lord Most High. And we've been trying to talk about some of the significance in the meanings of what the actual true story of our planet is. And like I said, I'm telling you a tale and giving you the truth of the story of our planet as we know from the correct revelations that mankind has received. But I'm telling it to you in a way that you've probably never heard of it before, and I'm giving it to you in terminology that is common to a Western audience, even though I'm referencing ancient correct sources that we have. And so we were just beginning to talk about the situation that was going on in the world. If you were watching the last episode, if you didn't see it, then of course I've got to give a disclaimer that we're talking about such deep and important concepts that some of the things I might say sound so strange and outlandish and crazy, but if you listen to the story and pay attention to what I'm saying, there's a chance you might understand something. And so what point in the story are we at? Well, we said, if you saw the last episode, I was talking about the greatness of the coming of the noble prophet Jesus, son of Mary. And so to go over what is going on in the universe, let's go over some fundamentals. As a Muslim, we're saying the fundamental that we tell everybody that is the essence of faith of the believers in the one true Lord is our statement of faith, La ilaha illallah, which means there is no God other than Allah. Allah being the Arabic term for the God, the one and only, the one who created the universe and everything in it, and sent what as the articles of faith? Prophets with books, after he created the angels who have no free will but are made of light, and they obey the commandments of their Lord and do not disobey. Those are angels. And this is a very important fundamental that we've maintained true and correct from the very beginning, and it will stay true and correct till the very end. And this is the nature of the truth. It's always the same. Secondly, we went over the fact that there are other races created by the Lord Most High that are made from smokeless fire, whether you want to term that as electricity, energy, plasma, power, some other race, and there are different types of them, and we've gone over this, and Lucifer was the most enlightened of his race at that time. And he was granted a noble, great status because of the greatness of his light. And then God created Adam, and after that the war began. And since then we have been at war, our race, with the Jinns, Satan and his minions, and the evil of men and the evil of the other races, fighting darkness between good. That's the truth. I'm sorry if nobody told you that. I'm sorry if nobody explained it to you, but that's the truth. That's always been the truth. So help me God, it'll always be the truth. There's only one God, and he created the world that we're in. Now we got to a point, we got to a very strange point on our planet, and dare I say, perhaps in the whole universe, where people using the knowledge incorrectly from the children of Israel that they had learned from Solomon, and if you don't understand what I'm talking about, go back and listen to the past episodes, had tried and do something very disrespectful. They tried to make life. And I bet if you talk to experts in alien races or UFOs or jinns and the creatures and other races in the other dimensions, and try and find out exactly when they've referenced that some of the other creations of God try to make their own life and clone other creations, it wouldn't be surprising to me that all of them saw a sign in the universe. As we know from the fundamentals of faith, if you've been paying attention, that God sends prophets with books, with the Word, and that all of this is by the will and fate and destiny of the Lord, and nothing is happening by accident or coincidence. And so it is this time on the planet Earth where God sends the most miraculous miracle of life that has been there since Abraham. And we said what? The children of Israel, Jesus, son of Mary, from the family of Zechariah, from the 12 tribes, from Moses, Joseph, Jacob, Isaac, to Abraham, who made the challenge on the earth, once and for all, that this world should only be worshiping the Lord Most High. And God, Allah, the Lord, is the only one, the one and only one, who can give life and take life. And so a sign is sent to this planet and perhaps the universe. And a star is seen by all of those who are looking. And Jesus, son of Mary, is born. And Mary says, as we recap, how am I, when the angels come to tell her of the blessed news, how am I, a woman who is pure and chaste, who has never known the knowledge of a man, going to have a son? And the angel told her, know, O Mary, that you are blessed from the great family of Imran, and you have prayed to your Lord to protect your chastity and your purity. And so God is giving you one of the most noble gifts, the most noble gift that any woman has ever borne, a child, while being the Virgin Mother. The Virgin Mother. Subhanallah. And every single Muslim who says La ilaha illallah believes this truth with absolute certainty. And so when Christians, my brothers and sisters, please listen to this story, because this is the part that gets so interesting for you. When they tell you that Muslims don't believe in the same stories and truth that you believe in, then they're lying to you and they're misdirecting you. And like I said, when they're telling you that Muslims believe in the sun god or the moon god or some other kind of idol or symbol or pagan or the star or the moon or any of the symbols that they make you think are our symbols, they're lying to you. The truth is the truth. Oh, Christian brothers and sisters, listen to me, because this is where the story gets so interesting. La ilaha illallah, there's only one God. And the signs have always been there. Now Jesus comes, a miraculous miracle, given to the Virgin Mary. And babe in arms, she comes to her people. And what do we see happen as a portent? As a sign for those who are paying attention to how the story plays out. It's always there for you. Every prophet has a problem within their own community, and it's always the case that there's always trouble. The people can't believe this. I mean, the people who said, we believe in the Lord Most High and are searching for the light, challenged the Lord by trying to create. And God showed them the light that they had never seen, breathed by himself. The only time it's ever happened is Adam. But it's been so long since Adam that nobody could remember that. And so there was Jesus, son of Mary, breathed of the light. Ooh. A beautiful thing like that hasn't happened on the earth for a long time. I mean, Solomon had powers. David was brave and killed Goliath. Moses talked to Allah and even got that little bit of reflection, but Jesus, son of Mary. And so in the beauty of this relationship that Jesus has and in his noble status, and you will never find a Muslim ever in their life say anything discourteous or disrespectful to the greatest prophet that the world had ever seen, breathed by the Spirit, said to be in existence by the Word. Jesus, son of Mary. But that will never, never, never in the world, his pureness as the most noble of creation that the world had ever seen will never change the fundamental of the truth. Oh, my brothers and sisters, listen to the truth that you have been told in this story from day one. La ilaha illallah. there is only one God. And so the prophet Jesus is a strange case, where all of a sudden we have no information. Jesus has this miraculous birth, born of the Virgin Mother, which no Muslim doubts and we all agree with. And then, strangely, he is not present. What happens to Jesus is very unclear. And there are some tales and narrations, and again, in modern times, with the misinformation and the strange theories, we hear all kinds of ludicrous tales. But upon the return of Jesus, we know what happens, just like all the other prophets from the Lord, bearing the light of messengership. He teaches people the exact same thing, to remember the fundamentals of what it is to be bearers of the light, and that you're supposed to love one another as humans. And see, this idea had started to change. That what? It was about all of humanity. It was about all of humanity, the light. All of the descendants of Adam. And so there was a little bit of tension there amongst the tribes. Because now there seems to suggest that man, any man, could attain the light. And Jesus is talking about concepts of the light and understanding God at a spiritual level that is so high. We have some serious problems and tensions with the children of Israel and the Jewish rabbis. And so a great problem starts to occur. Even though John has been warning people to purify their soul with water, and Jesus comes following and being a cousin of John from the same line, telling people the exact same message. And what is the fundamentals of faith? That I am a messenger from the Lord, telling you to believe in the Lord and pray to the Lord. Now, Jesus, in many narrations, Jesus, I mean, I imagine, we talk about some of the strange natures of the prophets, right? Solomon and his position, and Moses and how he talked to God. Well, Jesus is even more miraculous than all of them, right? Adam was able to talk to God, and that was an interesting situation, right? Moses was able to talk to God, and that was an interesting situation. But Jesus, son of Mary, was decided to be a son to this world because Allah made it so, being it was. And so it's very understandable and possible that Jesus would refer in love, in his true relationship to the light, to God as his Father, as a sign of the most loving way he could ever refer to God, in his unique position as the messenger who had that royal status. But that personal relationship of Christ, even if he taught it to his companions and followers, was never understood and mistaken by his companions to mean that Jesus was the actual begotten Son of God. La ilaha illallah. There's only one God. I don't know how you can make that concept any more clear. Jesus is holy and pure in his nature and infallible, without a doubt. The best prophet that the world had ever seen of all of mankind, bringing the true light. But to ever suggest that God, great and hallowed be he, above all that he created in the world, is someone that would have a son of a man, that is just insane. That is just so ridiculously disgusting that you suggest. And it is this reason and this reason alone why Muslims look to Christians and don't understand how you can ever suggest such a disgusting thought. And in Islam we know that it's clear because Allah told us very clearly. Anytime anybody says that Allah, the Most High, had a son, his very throne shakes His very throat shakes. It just hurts the soul for someone to suggest that. We believe in the Lord Most High. Islam means to submit your soul to remembering the one true message that has always been there. There is only one God, the Lord Most High. There are no other gods. There is nothing like God. God is God. Thou shalt worship no other God besides me. I am your Lord thy God. La ilaha illallah. The message has always been the same, my brothers and sisters, who say you follow Jesus. And I'm begging you, as we are told in the trueness of our religion as Muslims, that when you talk to the Christians, you never talk to the Christians out of hatred. In Islam, it is so clear. When you talk to the Christians, you talk to them about the love of the light, and you explain to them how much you have in common with them, because those who call themselves Muslims, submitting to the true Lord, saying La ilaha illallah, your Lord has ordered you in your book called the Quran, that on this planet called Earth for you, remember to the end of days. The closest to you in faith to the light are those who call themselves Christians, because they understand the search for the love of the light. And so I say that as an advice to my Muslim brothers and sisters to remember what it is we're doing here as believers in this story. It is sharing the light, and as the Prophet said, we came to help people and protect them from the fire by giving them part of the light. But I have to say, my brothers and sisters who are Christian, this is what happened. And what actually happened in the story. Jesus comes at the time of Revelation and says, yes, I am a true prophet. And the Jews cannot accept this. They have been so convinced that they are the chosen ones and that everything is according to their way, that in their own misguidance, they have forgotten to see their own signs that what? The fundamentals of faith. There is only one God. There are angels who obey and have no free will. There are jinns, and amongst them Satan and Lucifer. There are prophets with books bearing the word. And you have a soul of the light and a day of judgment to answer for your actions, and a heaven and hell that is eternal and everlasting. And somehow, when Jesus came, many of them were not able to accept the new prophet from within their own line. Now Jesus, peace and blessings be upon him, as all Muslims say, I was able to do some amazing miracles. This is when he comes back in his 30s, right? As an adult. The time in between, ooh, that's an interesting story. Again, we can only tell so many strange tales of what's going on. And as I mentioned, the sign of Jesus as being what? Okay, once again, here's the caveat, the disclaimer. You're listening to the HotConflict.com video series telling you the story of the truth like you've never heard it before. And so when Jesus came as a sign from the Lord to all of mankind and possibly the galaxies, it was a time when possibly the other races, meaning the jinns, were trying to clone, and we know that the Jews were trying to do similar types of things, and so God sent the answer to the challenge of Abraham. The true God is the only one who can give life. And so Jesus said, yes, I have the light. That was too much for the Jews to bear. I mean, they are the chosen people, and for this guy who seems so strange to come and say these things, it sounded like blasphemy to the elders, right? Who's this newfound person corrupting us? This can't be correct. Who's this new guy? Excuse me. Like I said, these concepts are so deep. The purity of the light and understanding the true story. Now, there are books that got included in the Bible, and there are books that didn't. And this is a fundamental part of the story. There are two areas that we have differed so far, my brothers and sisters who are Christians. You missed the concept of the jinn. Satan, the Lucifer, devil, misguided your people on this major fundamental flaw between angels and jinns, and then you have these misguided ideas of Nephilim. And so, I've tried to explain some of the story for you. Now, Jesus comes very clearly, right? And tells the people of the tribes that you are lost from your ways. And I am here to remind you of the truth of the light and what is most important, in that we are in a spiritual war, good versus evil. And it is not so much important to try and protect just the tribes like you are something special, but the overall war that you have forgotten about while getting deep in your spiritual knowledge is that we are in a supernatural galactic struggle of epic proportions, and the fate of mankind is in the balance. The importance of the message of Jesus. This is for all mankind. There was starting to have a change there. Now, some people will say maybe his message wasn't so universal, but there were definitely clear signs of it. And of that there is no doubt, as exampled by our day and age and reality right now. But we have a major flaw in the story. And as we told you, the Jews and the children of Israel rejected Christ. And there are some fundamental reasons why. They considered themselves to be the most knowledgeable of the book at that time. And here came Jesus with some more new words, which all Muslims believe that Jesus spoke the word, of course, from God. There is no doubt. What we actually have in existence in our hands today and what the original language was, that is a whole other debate and part of the story that is messed up. But remember the fundamentals so that we don't get lost. Jesus challenged the rabbis at every single turn and point, and this created way too much friction. And we have for the first time in this story where the children of Israel reject the prophet of the true light. And we have a serious problem that occurs after that. Some would say the children of Israel made deals with the Romans, and we know the Romans were what? Well, if the people who are the believers are dealing with another race, even if it's a human race, the Romans were what? Who are the Romans worshiping? All the false idols based on what? Based on supernatural stories that they had gotten from their people in their ages, all based on correlations to stars and different things like that. And if you go through the story and pay attention, then you'll know that the Romans were influenced by the same concepts that we've been saying are against everything that the believers in the light truly believe, right? Your Lord Most High is your Lord Most High. There are no triangles, there are no symbols, there are no graven images, there are no patterns. I am your Lord, thy God. Thou shalt worship no other God besides me. Thou shalt not make any graven images. And so one of the beauties of Jesus is that at one time, and this is scripture that we have that is available today that is not in the canonized Bible, and there's a reason why, is because there were some strange issues that Jesus said, where he came and he said that he was a messenger that was greater than Solomon. Now, peace and blessings be upon Jesus. He was not an arrogant man in any way, shape, or form. And I make sure to suggest that Jesus was a man, just like any one of us made of flesh. Yes, noble in status and having more of the light than any of Allah's creations that he had ever sent to the earth so far. Of that there is no doubt, and every Muslim in their soul can say that with 100% certainty. And so Jesus said, in not so many words, yes, I'm a greater prophet than Solomon. Now that to the children of Israel, that was just way too far. I mean, how dare you? I mean, with all due respect to our prophet Solomon, and we say this with all due respect, as a Muslim, we say what? Solomon is part of the chain, the fundamentals of faith, one of the prophets with the word. Solomon had all the blessings that we earlier talked about. And if you don't remember me praising Solomon and his greatness, go back and listen to the story. But then there's Jesus, son of Mary, breathed of the Lord. Of course he's a greater prophet than Solomon, right? And anybody who's a Christian knows that. It's obvious. I saying to you right here, oh brothers and sisters who are Christian, who think that the Muslims are your enemy, that I'm saying to you with my full-fledged heart, as open as I could tell you the truth, and if you're listening to it and paying attention, then you know that I'm telling you the truth of the light. That of course Jesus was a greater prophet than Solomon. Now Solomon had some amazing abilities, and we talked about the fact that he understood the nature of all things, and that he could even control some of the other alien races and the Jinns, even the powers of some of the other dimensions. And Jesus even references Solomon in some of his practices in removing aliens. And since we talked earlier about the fact that all of the prophets knew about the Jinns, well, obviously Solomon knew about the Jinns or the other races, and so did Jesus, as he was able to exercise using the word. If you're misunderstanding that there are other races who are Jinns and they have technology from another dimension, and you haven't understood what we're telling you so far, you can go back and look through the history. Like I've said, everything that we're telling you is documented in the truth, but just the story here at the hotconflict.com website that I'm telling you is just being told in a different way. So go back and look at the paintings and images of when Jesus, peace be upon him, was born and sent to the earth as the sign to God, and you can see that there's clear depictions of the Madonna and some of the Jinn or UFO or extra-dimensional being craft in the area and watching, because the sign was clear from the Lord that the Lord was sending a message, if not just to this area of the galaxy, perhaps to the whole universe, that there was going to be a fundamental change in the war, and God had sent a great messenger. Oh, but the story just gets so much more strange. The story gets so much more strange. And so as Jesus is telling the people of Israel that he is a greater messenger than Solomon, and he is able to do the same thing that Solomon does and exorcise evil wraith jinns or extra-dimensional beings who are even possessing the bodies of humans, that which many of the rabbis were unbelieving that he could do. It is necessary for these disbelieving people in the Lord who are denying the light to see miracles. And of course Jesus performed miracles. All the prophets performed miracles, like we said, of providing their people. Jesus walked on the water, and walking on the water is one of the nice ones. It's always a good one, and prophets always are able to walk on the water, and the water thing is always nice. Being able to feed the people and have extra food and bread and fish, always some nice stuff. But the one miracle that people have to understand that makes Jesus one of the great prophets and so unique in this way is when he actually raises Lazarus from the dead. Now this story is so misunderstood, and the relevance is so important, is because the fundamental that we were trying to say and that we're very much trying to get is that what? There is only one God. There is only one God. I have been trying to tell you this story, and we get into one of the most interesting points in the plot, in the story of the children of Adam. And if you've been watching this video and are listening to the story, you can understand that, wait a second, something really weird is going on. Lazarus, a person who is dead, a person who is dead is about to be brought to life. I thought, what? Something is very strange in this story. Jesus, the true prophet, can give life? it's time to take a break.